Madam Secretary, will you please call the roll?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Chairwoman Johnson,
Present.
Vice Chairman DeSimone,
Present.
Member Betancourt, Member Connors, Member Jackson,
Present.
Member Medeiros.
Here.
Member Schultz, Executive Director Miguel Nunez,
Here.
Legal Counsel Ray LaPartia.
Present.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. And as I understand it, we have 2 items at the end of the agenda to meet an executive session, and there's a need to move those up to the front end due to some timing issues. So I think I can ask someone to make a motion as such.
I'll move to amend the agenda to bring those matters to item 1.
Second.
1 and 2. Is that what you meant? 1
Or
and
1 and 2, sorry.
Yes, that's okay. Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it, and we will move into executive session.
And Madam Chair, you just want to, now at this point, now that you've moved those, you should have a separate set of motions for each of them to actually move into executive session now that you've changed the agenda.
Okay. Do I have a motion to move into executive session to discuss, the board may vote to meet in executive session pursuant to Rhode Island General Laws 42-46-5, subsection A, subsection 2, regarding a lawsuit pending in Providence County Superior Court captioned Robert Cando versus Rhode Island State Board of Elections, ETL, CA number PC-2017-4918. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. What is now number 2, the board may meet in executive session to discuss and/or possibly vote on an investigation pursuant to Rhode Island General Laws 42-46-5, subsection A, subsection 4. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. And we will now move into executive session at 4:08 PM.
That's good.
Do I have a motion to resume open session and seal the minutes of executive session?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. And I think we are going to ask to move, what number is it now, Miguel?
Number 6.
Okay. The board may hear and decide an appeal filed by Mr. Scott Sivko regarding the rejection by the Newport Board of Canvassers of his declaration of candidacy for Newport City Council Ward 3. And out of respect for people's time, I think we were going to ask for a motion for that to be moved up to number 3. Do I have a
So
motion?
A motion made. To move,
Second.
to move that item from 6 to 3.
Do I have a second? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. And I'm looking to you, Miguel, first.
So before I go into a summary of this agenda item, I was notified by Mr. Scott Sivko, sent me an email 8 minutes prior to the start of the meeting today, that he would not be able to make it to the meeting today because he had some car trouble and can't get a ride up to Cranston. And he's also stated that regardless, today would not work for him because it is a holy day of obligation. And so he would not be able to make it to the hearing today, according to his email.
Yeah, I know that we have representatives from the city here, including solicitor. If you could just come up and identify yourself and also give us your position. I know that you've been waiting a long time. The notice that went to Mr. Sivko while he's settling in, when was the notice sent out to him? How, was that a matter of days ago or?
He was notified on Tuesday of the meeting, Tuesday morning.
Crispy, and I'm the city solicitor for
Do you
the
mind
city of
sitting and
Newport.
turning on your microphone?
You gotta press the.
The one right in the.
Right in the front.
Closest to you. That's it. It's not on, but it's the button. That's it. Keep pressing.
The thing's really.
Okay.
It's awful. It's not you, it's the.
It's a
It's
green,
microphone.
it's the green symbol there. Crispy, and I'm the city solicitor for Newport. And we would object to a continuance at this point. Normally, as legal counsel in these types of situations, you do try to accommodate a continuance, but in this particular case, if you look at it, we do, our elections administrator and our board of canvassers they do need to move forward. And they have to work on, there will be a primary soon, and they do need to get going on the election here. And I think, even though I'm not going to get into all the merits of the appeal, but if you just look at his appeal, the grounds for his appeal, what he states, it's based on residency. He makes no mention of the fact about the late filing of the declaration of candidacy. So he made all of his arguments on the residency, and I think he fails a condition precedent to even qualify as a candidate with the late filing of the declaration of candidacy. So we would ask, based on that the appeal be dismissed in favor of the city.
Madam Chair, can I just
Yes,
ask a question
Commissioner.
of council? And Ray, that declaration is a condition preceding to being the candidate.
The declaration is yes. At this point, I mean, first you have to consider whether to grant the motion or not. If you don't grant the motion, then you have to at least create a record for this appeal from the city. only because we have no records before us at this point. We don't have the basis for the city's decision on residency. I think that you have it available, so we could at least have that record presented. But first, you have to decide whether to grant the continuance or not.
And we've heard everything, like, is there anything else? We have all the information, so we can proceed with,
I don't know what else Mr. Sifko would say in person.
Right.
He, I can't speak for him.
Right.
Well, I mean,
So-
we can address a couple of things in the letter. One is that it's a holy day of obligation, and what I would tell you is it's the Feast of the Assumption today. It's a holy day of obligation, meaning you have to attend Mass in the Catholic Church. It doesn't mean that you cannot do business. It is not akin to Yom Kippur or any of those types of holidays where you're precluded. So he puts that in here as not being here. If he's not here to go forward, I don't think it's a situation where we can grant him, where I would be comfortable granting him a continuance. As far as what he sets out with regard to residency, my only concern is, does residency even become an issue if he didn't do the requisite steps to become a candidate?
When you say he didn't do the requisite steps, we don't have anything on the record yet on that from the city, but we should put that.
So the city can put on record how he filed the documents and did not file paper documents, but he filed an email.
Unless you wanted to dismiss the appeal because he's not present, but he
No,
has
I think-
submitted papers in support of his position. The second argument for him not being here apparently is car trouble. So that's something that you'd have to factor in as well. The holy day of obligation, our state law, our rules of procedure for court proceedings, that would never come into play for a court matter being continued. It is not a recognized holiday. The state is open for business.
And I will add that he has known about the date. The original projected time was 2:00. I told him that was tentative, but he has known that since Tuesday of last week. So on the 6th, I did make him aware that we would be a meeting this afternoon regarding this matter.
I think it's only a matter of the claim of the car trouble. That's the only thing that's before you as to a possible reason for a continuance. That's it.
Yeah, and on the issue of car trouble, it was a 4:00 meeting. It's 5:45. And he's still not here. So, it's up to you, Madam Chair, how you want to proceed. but
go.
if you-
I'm looking at you.
I would hear from the city on the issue of the nomination papers and the improper filing, if it were up to me.
That's fine, we're prepared to do that. I apologize, I just assumed that I think we filed a record
You
with
did.
the
Yeah.
executive director. It should have been.
Yep.
You did.
Whoops, I should have been.
You did.
with a bullet. So the election administrator is here.
So before we hear from anybody,
You
you
swear.
have to, well, no, you
Oh.
first have to rule on the request for a continuance. It sounds like I know where
I'll move to deny the continuance.
Move to deny the continuance. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. Any other discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Continuance denied.
Very good.
And
Ray,
before,
should we accept what's been provided to us by the board as part of the record? Should we make that an exhibit? at this
all
point?
of the, we have no records, so yes, in case there is an appeal, we should mark everything as an exhibit. So whatever you have to provide, we'll
So-
introduce and mark.
you should have in your packet there a copy of the declaration form. And you have a copy of the minutes from the Newport Board of Canvassers meeting on July 17th. And
Those are the items referenced as number 6 in our package?
correct, yes.
I'd move number 6 as a full exhibit on behalf of the city. I'm assuming you're going to submit that.
Yeah.
You've already submitted it, and that's.
Yeah, it's been
you're gonna
filed.
reference. I'll move that we take this item number 6 as a full exhibit.
So that's full. That'll be exhibit A.
A.
Okay, moved and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it.
And I can certainly summarize the case for you quickly if you want, and Hugh can fill in any of the details in between, to my knowledge. I know that on June 26, Mr. Sivko submitted a declaration of candidacy for Ward 3 City Council via email to the Newport Board of Canvassers, and the staff of the Newport Board of Canvassers determined there to be two issues with the filing. First, Mr. Sivko did not file an original declaration of candidacy. Secondly, Mr. Sivko was not an eligible voter within Ward 3 and was actually registered to vote in Ward 2. Third, his declaration of candidacy form actually contained a P.O. box instead of the requisite residential address that's required on the form. On June 6, Hugh Moran, the clerk of the Board of Canvassers, notified Mr. Sivko via email to file an original form and inform him that he was a registered voter at an address in Ward 2 and was not eligible to run for office in Ward 3, according to the statute. On June 28th, 2 days after the deadline, the Board of Canvassers did receive the original declaration of candidacy filing for Mr. Sivko. Mr. Sivko appealed the decision to reject his declaration of candidacy. He appealed that decision to the local board. On July 17th, the Board of Canvassers met, at which time the board denied his appeal. On August 6th, Mr. Sivko appealed the decision to this board, which is the matter that is before you today. Bless you.
Thanks, Miguel. Anything to add?
No, that's the summary. I think that's,
Yeah, I mean, we'll just point out, and Mr. Moran is here to verify if you wanted to put him under oath and testify, that's fine. But what the evidence would show is basically he attempted, Mr. Sivko attempted by electronic mail to submit his declaration of candidacy, and that was done on the last day on June 26th. The actual document that the original document with his original signature arrived in the U.S. mail at Newport City Hall on June 28th, 2 days late. And it was actually postmarked in New Jersey.
And thank you. Can I just ask, and I'm sure this is in somewhere, but just for my own knowledge, when he emailed the declaration, was there an immediate response to him that this was not, that was not? Do you want to come
why don't you
forward,
come on
sir?
up? Yeah. And has he been sworn in?
Those things, you
You have to hold it down.
you're really awful. It's like a
Oh,
bad.
there you go.
There you
It's on
go.
green. It's green.
Can you state your name, please?
Hugh Moran. I'm the elections administrator for the city of Newport.
Okay, and do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you.
So to answer your question, there wasn't an immediate response. This response came a couple hours later because I was.
But the same day?
Same day.
Yeah.
Within the same hours. And Miguel summarized the response. He was filing electronically.
Mhm.
He was not eligible for the office in which he sought because he was a registered voter in Ward 2 and was seeking office in Ward 3.
Okay.
Are candidates notified that the papers must be filed in original?
I conducted 4 candidate trainings in which that was discussed for potential candidates. Mr. Sivko did not attend any of those candidate trainings. It's also published in the Secretary of State's Run for Office Guide. So, and it was on our website. So there's plenty of opportunity for someone to do it.
And what's the basis for the originals versus, for example, if somebody came in by 4 o'clock with copies, what would you say to that person?
I would say that I would need an original signature.
Based on what?
The guidance from the Secretary of State's office, as well as there's a Title 17 law.
17.1, 7.1.
But that applies to the filings with the Secretary of State, right?
It does. And so I reached out to the Secretary of State's office because I anticipated Mr. Sivko making this an issue. And I was told that cities and towns had always interpreted it to apply to them as well. And that my predecessor, the Secretary of State's office, reached out to my predecessor, who said that they had never accepted a electronic filing before.
So it was a practice, not a regulation or other published document from the town or the city?
Correct.
So the second reason why he was declined for his candidacy was what? His residency?
His residency, yes.
Yeah, and if I may, on the residency issue, when he filed on 6/26, he was a registered voter in Ward 2 at 40 Dr. Marcus Wheatland Boulevard in Newport. On that day, he did submit a change of registration, I believe, with the Secretary of State. And he put down an address of 14 Old Fort Road in Newport. His declaration used an address of the United States Post Office, the federal building on Thames Street in Newport. When the attempt was to verify the address at 14 Old Fort Road, the owner came into the canvassing office and very upset, explaining that he does not live there. He's never lived there. He was staying over there for a few days. And
Is there a record of this? I mean, what you've just
he
shared?
can-
Okay, why don't we just go to the record?
he
has
can
it anything-
actually testify.
Yeah, why don't
He
you?
can testify to the conversation with the owner.
Well, let's stick to you and not to hearsay. So just tell us what do you have by way of establishing for the city that this person was not a resident at the place he stated he was?
So I have 2 returned pieces of mail.
Okay. We'll mark those as exhibits. That'll be exhibit B and C. Could I? Yes.
We'll just introduce them here. And I'll note the writing on those envelopes belonged to the property owner. That was not what was written by our office. That was how we received them. The date marked there is by my clerk.
Did the post office return those envelopes, or did the owner come in and give them?
No, the property owner came in personally and delivered them to me, quite irate.
After your determination, this matter went before the Board of Canvassers?
It did.
And did he testify before the Board of Canvassers?
Yes, he did.
Is someone here from the Board of Canvassers now?
We do have our board chair, Sharon Connors, here as well.
Maybe we just hear from her as to the meeting. I mean, more specific.
Yeah,
Yes, Sharon.
it's just that we have testimony, then we have hearsay. I don't want to describe for the board what the landlord said, what the appellant has said. That's not before you. It's whatever we can develop from the people who are here that's direct testimony.
Yeah.
For example, the information you have on the addresses, that's part of the record. Those were returned to the city. And what did you do after they were returned? What steps did you take to determine whether or not Mr. Sifko, resided at the residence that he claimed to reside at?
So the first letter was in response to his update of the voter registration form that he processed the same day of the filing, June 26th, through the Secretary of State's office. And so that's the standard address change notice. So that record was processed, the address change notice was put out in the mail. It went to 14 Old Fort Road, which is the address that he claimed to have been residing at. And it was returned to me by Rafael Medina, the property owner. Then, in accordance with the Title 17 law, we made him inactive and we sent a confirmation letter to 14 Old Fort Road in case a mistake had been made. That confirmation letter was returned several days later by the property owner, Rafael Medina, again, quite upset.
When did you inactivate him?
We inactivated him when the address change notice was returned to us.
But what was do you remember what the date was?
I believe it is written on the envelope there. Correct, yes, 7/8/24.
I just wanted to point out the record, you do have, I think the record before you would show he's used 3 addresses in the matter of almost 24 hours.
I guess,
On the 6/26 date, he was still registered in a Ward 2 address, used a post office address, and then he used a Old Fort Road address.
so
I don't, do you have, I have for number 6, which is marked as A, the appeal. The
I
entry-
believe Hugh has that. I asked him to, but did you bring CBRS printout
I do
there?
have a printout.
Yeah.
of his voter
Yeah,
record.
that has not been made part of the record yet, so we should do that now. So that can be Exhibit D.
This whole, you could, put it in the order you want.
And is it Mr. Moran or Mr. Marin?
Morin.
Morin, did you go to the CVRs to further verify whether or not Mr. Zivko was properly residing at a particular address? Is this from you?
That is the printout of the CVRS. That's his voter record there. So it contains changes to his address. It contains voter history. It contains our notes.
I'll just mark this as D. And you generated this. This is from your work?
Correct.
Okay. I'll just give that to you.
On the declaration of candidacy, we should get a copy of. He indicates an address at 320 Thames Street. Have you determined what type of building that is?
That is a federal post office building. I'll note that the unit on the declaration form is Unit 13. That is actually a PO box. Like, there is no apartment unit. There's no residential. It's not zoned residential in any way. It's a post office.
So this is a false address.
It's a mailing address,
Yeah.
but it's not a residential address.
Is that where he receives his mail? But
Yes.
when you had your Board of Canvassers meeting, I know you presented the minutes here. Is that a recorded meeting?
Yes, it's a recorded meeting. I did send.
At that meeting, did he present any indicia of living at the address within the ward that he was claiming?
He did not present
An
anything.
example being under the statute, electric bill, any utility bills, anything of that nature. Did he present any written documentation to the board at that time?
No written documentation of any sort like that to establish residency in Ward 3 was provided.
Any other questions?
yeah, do you have any idea where he lives now?
I believe he's a homeless gentleman.
That I didn't hear that. That he's what, please?
I believe he's homeless.
Okay.
That's just your opinion.
I don't have, he stated that at our
stated-
board meeting, but again, that's hearsay.
Ray, should we have the electronic,
not
should we get an electronic copy of that and make it part of our record? I mean, we can't. listen
That would
to it
be,
today.
that would be a good idea, yes.
We have it was sent to us, right? Yeah, you gave us that, so we just have to introduce it.
So we should mark that as an exhibit, or would that be C? What are we
That would
on?
be E.
We're on
The
E.
electronic would be E.
I believe you also have in your packet there the statute 1714-1-2 with the residency requirement for filing the declaration of candidacy. Should be the second to last page. For the last page, actually.
So the only other direction I can give to the board is that I think both of these bases seem well-reasoned to affirm the decision made by the local board. However, while this might seem very technical, and it is, I would advise the board to rely upon the second as opposed to the first. As far as originals, I can't think of any time when someone running for office would not file originals. But the question would be whether or not he was apprised of that and what the prejudice would be for the city by receiving it 2 days later when they actually received the electronic version. I think every document should be original, but the statute itself, the filings made under this title to the Secretary of State doesn't apply. Ultimately, it would if you have to transmit those documents, but in this instance, it sounds like you would have received those originals within 2 days. So the originals could have been transmitted to the Secretary as well. So again, that's very technical. I think it's very appropriate for a city and town only to accept originals. There just should be notice of that, and we should apprise the communities that people running for office should have some written, as opposed to a practice notice. Everything should be by original. The second argument, it seems to me to be a strong basis to support the decision that was rendered by the city.
So at this point, the decision before this board is whether or not to
Affirm
or deny, because isn't the appeal, is there appeal before us? He appealed to
He
us, or is
appealed.
this, he appealed to the, oh, okay.
He appealed to us. So either you would affirm what the city did, or you would grant the appeal
Okay.
and decline what the city did.
Or we can just deny the appeal.
You mean not reach the merits?
Yeah.
Because he's not here?
No, based upon the testimony.
Right, I think that's exactly what,
Okay,
right.
yeah.
Either you would affirm the decision by the city, or you would grant the appeal
Okay.
and reject their actions.
Okay,
I move that we affirm the decision of the Newport Board of Canvassers and deny the Silver Coast appeal.
And again, I would advise that you do it on the second grounds of their decision as opposed to the first. Despite it being reasonable, I think it's more appropriate just to do it on the second grounds.
you add that to
Sure,
your,
second round, so.
okay. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? The ayes have it. Thank you both.
Thank you.
Thank you,
very
Sharon.
much.
Okay. Agenda item number 4. Thank you, Commissioner. The board may discuss and vote to approve the minutes of the meeting of July 16th, 2024. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Moved and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
I
Any
believe I missed
opposed?
that meeting, so I'll
So you're
abstain.
abstaining. Okay.
I abstain as well, though.
Okay. 2 abstentions. The ayes have it. Number 5, the board may discuss and vote to approve the minutes of the meeting of July 22nd, 2024. Oh, no, I don't think I was at that one. No, I was.
I'm sorry, Madam Chair. I would vote aye on July 16th. I was here. It was the 22nd that I wasn't here.
Yeah, and I need to abstain on July 16th because I wasn't
And
there.
July 16th, I wasn't here
Do we
either.
have to redo the whole thing? I guess? No, okay.
You still have a quorum.
Yeah.
If people abstain, they're not recusing, so they're still
Okay.
on the, so long as you have
Okay.
majority of the remaining voting
Okay,
in favor, you're set.
okay. So we're on July 22nd, approving the minutes. The
That-
board-
That I was away.
Okay.
That I was not here for.
Do we have a motion to approve the minutes of July 22nd?
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any abstentions?
Same from that.
2 abstentions. Okay, the ayes have it. Agenda item number 6. The board may discuss and vote to approve the calendar for the East Greenwich School Committee election to be held on November 5th. I did.
The LNA testing.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. Agenda item number 6, the board may discuss and vote to certify the LNA testing for the primary to be held on Tuesday, September 10th, 2024. Sorry, John Mary. I mean to skip here. Miguel.
Honorable members of the board, logic and accuracy testing for the early voting and precinct voting machines. Not sure why I'm echoing, but for the September 10th statewide primary took 7 business days to complete. It began on August 5th at 8 a.m. and concluded on the afternoon of Wednesday, August 14th. The testing was publicly noticed the week prior to testing and was open to the public. 8 ES&S and 7 Board of Election staff members were involved in the testing. A total of 452 DS200s were tested. 369 machines are being deployed to the polls on Election Day. 321 precincts will receive 1 DS200 and 24 precincts will receive 2 DS200s on September 10th. A total of 389 express votes were tested. Each precinct will receive 1 express vote. 83 DS200s and 44 express votes are being deployed for early voting. Each early voting site will receive 2 DS200s and 1 express vote, except for the cities of Cranston, East Providence, Pawtucket, Providence, and Warwick, who will receive 3 DS200s and 2 express votes. The early voting and election day test deck comprise of 831 unique ballot styles and consisted of 5 to 8 ballots per party being fed through each precinct. A total of 4,193 test ballots were used, ensuring that every oval position was tested on every machine per the board's protocol on LNA testing. For mail ballots, 2 DS850 high-speed tabulators were tested. There were also 831 ballot styles for a total of 4,385 test deck ballots that were fed through the DS850, ensuring that every oval position was tested on each of those DS850 high-speed tabulators. During testing, 8 DS200 units were replaced, including 5 for inactive modems and 3 for malfunctioning touchscreens. 11 express vote units were replaced during testing, including 7 for malfunctioning touchscreens, 3 feed errors, and 1 firmware issue. The Secretary of State's Election Division, as per our protocol, they did conduct a review of the ballots and the express vote ballot information, and on August 5th, they certified the information is accurate. Early voting starts next Wednesday, August 21st, and delivery of the equipment by our moving vendor began yesterday and will be completed by August 20th. Our moving vendor will be delivering Election Day voting equipment and supplies beginning Wednesday, August 28th, and will conclude on Thursday, September 5th. ES&S has provided the 3 reports for the testing. The first 0 report is printed prior to testing. The second report shows the results from the test deck of ballots that has been compared to the key, which should be first on the top of your packet. The third report shows each DS200 has been reset to 0, and they are now ready for operation on both August 21st, the first day of early voting, and September 10th, on primary day. At this time, if the board has no questions, I ask that you certify the testing of the voting equipment to be used for the statewide primary to be held on Tuesday, September 10th.
Thank you, Miguel. Anyone have any questions for Miguel? Hearing none, do we have a motion?
I move we accept the report and that the machines have been so certified and ready for deployment.
Thank you, Commissioner.
I second the motion.
Seconded? I thought you were. Moved and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. And we are moving on to what is now agenda item number 7. The board may discuss and vote to approve the calendar for the East Greenwich School Committee election to be held on November 5th, 2024. Miguel?
Members of the board, effective August 13, school committee member Nicole Buca resigned from her school committee seat in East Greenwich. Likewise, on August 13th, the town council voted to hold a special election to be held on November 5th to fill the vacancy. The East Greenwich Town Charter requires a special election be held if there is more than 1 year remaining on the vacant term, which in this particular case, there are more than 2 years remaining on that term. The staff has worked with the East Greenwich Board of Canvassers to determine the best time frame in which the special election could be conducted as quickly as feasible. Holding the election on November 5th would set the candidate declaration period for August 29th and August 30th, with the primary to be held on October 8th if necessary. However, the staff here at the Board of Elections has made the East Greenwich Board of Canvassers aware that if a primary is necessary on October 8th, there will not be sufficient time to add the winner of the primary to the regular November 5th general election ballot, as though those ballots will already be set by September 21st, which is the federal deadline to mail ballots to uniformed and overseas voters. Therefore, if a primary is necessary, East Greenwich would need to open a separate polling place exclusively for the school committee election on November 5th, where a ballot only containing that single school committee contest will be issued to voters that day. Conversely, if there is no primary necessary, soon after the declaration period at the end of this month, the candidates on the general election ballot will be established, and since there will be no primary necessary, and the Secretary of State does have sufficient time to ensure that they are placed on the regular November 5th November 5th ballot in the general election. If the board does not have any questions regarding the draft calendar, the staff requests that the calendar be approved for this East Greenwich School Committee special election to be held on November 5th, with the primary to be held on October 8th if it's necessary.
Thank you, Director. Any questions?
I move to approve the calendar.
Move to approve the calendar. Do we have a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. And agenda item number 8, the board may discuss and vote to adopt the changes to amend the rules and regulations 410-RICR-20-00-25, establishing vote by mail ballot drop boxes. Talking about this for a very long time.
So members of the board, as you know, this past session, the General Assembly passed legislation submitted by the board to extend the opening of mail ballot drop boxes from 20 days to 35 days prior to regular elections and 20 prior to special elections. This proposed amended rule and regulation before you today brings the board's regulation in line with that new statute, 17-20-22.1. In addition, the staff also proposes changing the minimum number of personnel required to be present when removing ballots from the drop box from 1 or more, which is in the current regulation, to 2 or more individuals, which is in the proposed regulation. The board staff has always had 2 people involved with emptying the drop box located in our parking lot, and it is also a best practice that we have conveyed to the local boards of canvassers since the drop boxes were implemented in 2020. This modification to the regulation would codify that requirement. I'm happy to answer any questions from the board. And I know the Secretary of State's office is here as well, if you have any questions of them.
Any questions? Very excited. Okay,
And I
I'd
bu-
move to adopt the changes as referenced by the director.
Oh, Red, do you want to handle the timeframe of that?
But I would advise the board, consistent with your other practice, of just circulating them for public comment for the 30-day period.
okay.
I'll make that part of the motion. That
Okay.
we would be moving to adopt the changes to the draft and then to advertise it for the 30-day public notice for comments.
Thank you.
Second that motion.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Commissioner Jack-Boney?
I just, in order to bring this in line with the statute, I certainly will support this, but just as a reminder, I did not support the legislation prior to it being sent to the General Assembly, but I respect the wishes of the General Assembly.
Thank you. Okay, anything else? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. And I think that's a wrap. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Moved to adjourn, and second, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. And we are adjourned at 6:20 PM. Thank you, everyone.